Hey, John, how's it going, man?
Good, Fran. How are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for coming on, spending some time with me today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of you may know John from the band Seether and the Nixons, both. And I'm glad that we're friends. I've toured with you before many, many times. We've been around
Yeah.
the globe as your band's videographer and photographer, and I've got to spend time in the studio with you as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, let's talk a little bit about your origins, man. So you were born in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah. I'm from Oklahoma originally, which you're here now with us. You're a fellow Okie.
Yeah, yeah, man. I had to get out of the traffic jam of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It was taxing, man. It was time. I'm really enjoying my time here. It's 100 steps, just a breather. Not
Yeah,
that I'll
for
live
sure.
here forever, but for now, this is amazing. I'm enjoying it. There's a great film tax incentive here.
Nice.
So I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, man. I think Oklahomans are great people. This has been my home.
Hmm.
This is where I'm from. This is where I raised my kids. Um, I a suburb just south of Oklahoma City is where I grew up, Moore, Oklahoma. Graduated from Moore High School. And then we live in Edmond, Oklahoma
Yep.
now. And there was a time uh, right before I joined Seether, we were living in Lewisville, Texas, which is basically Dallas.
Mm,
And when my wife was pregnant with our second child and I joined Seether, we went back home to be close to family. So my wife had the support while I was constantly on tour, and my mom was living in Edmond, so we moved there, and we love it here. And but yeah, man, great people, and this has always been my home. I've been fortunate. I haven't had to move to the coasts or to California or anything. I've been able to tour with Seether and meet up in Nashville and do our thing and stay here in Oklahoma and be I've got friends here that I've had my entire life. People I've
right.
just that know me as me. It doesn't matter what I do or what I've done. They just real friends.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of my best friends who's like a brother to me, Todd Polson, who you've met before, lives
Yeah.
here, and he's also the executive producer of Hired Gun. Lives here, and between the two of you, you guys kind of talked me into moving here. It just made sense. It's economically the traffic.
Yeah, the
Um,
traffic, man, that was the
oh
thing, living in
God,
Dallas, just I was not used to that. Oklahoma, you take it for granted, you can just zip around and do
right?
things. I mean, we'll have a little traffic, here and there, but nothing like, Atlanta or LA or Dallas, man. Dallas, that was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it's insane. So let's jump into it, man. So,
Sure.
obviously you're a drummer. What drew you to that instrument, and at what age do you think that you started playing?
I really got into music and got serious about it when I was about 12 or 13. And I started out, as a music fan. I always say Kiss was the gateway band for me. I was just the perfect age. They had the bubblegum cards and they had a movie. And I just loved, their image and everything. And I had buddies with the trading cards. And then finally, I went to the record store and got to pick my first album, and it was a Kiss record. And I just, yeah, Kiss is what kind of kicked it off for me as far as rock and roll. I loved Peter Criss. I loved the drums and the massive drum set that he had, and I wanted to try drums. My parents were very supportive that I loved music from an early age. I tried piano for a little bit. I tried guitar. I wanted an electric guitar, but it ended up getting an acoustic guitar,
Right.
and that's not really what I fell in love with. But about the time I was 12 or 13, and rock's really big on radio, Quiet Riot, Def Leppard. I joined band, and initially I was playing trombone in high school band or middle school band, and I finally begged my parents. They got me on my first drum set, and I finally convinced the band director to let me try out for the drum section, and he did. And then I was played drums all through high school, but yeah, I was a band geek and did that whole thing. And but yeah, it was about 12 or 13, and got pretty serious about it. And that's when I got my first drum set.
That is so cool. Um, The Nixons were your first band, am I correct? Like kind of
Yeah,
big band?
my first real band. Yeah, I just like everybody starting out, I had those garage bands, buddies in high school, middle school. I mean, my first band really I was when just starting out, 13. That's really where I fell in love with it. I would play along to my favorite bands, records, right? I had a drum kit. I would practice, work on rudiments and the basics, but I'd play along to my favorite bands and records, Motley Crue, Van Halen, Kiss, Quiet
Right.
Riot. But I had two friends, a guy played bass guitar, another guy played lead guitar in middle school. And they came over to my house. We didn't have a singer. We just played instrumental. And I think the first song we played, you'll like this, Fran, Living After Midnight, Judas Priest.
Whoa.
The
Okay.
first song I
Okay.
played with other human beings, right? And I swear it was the living room, my house, the house I grew up in. And that moment kind of changed my life as far as I'm sure we sounded horrible. The song probably wasn't even in tune, but
Right.
just trying to play that song. I think I have a cassette recording of it around here. So anyway, it's incredible. And that's where I really fell in love with making music with other people, and really like, I like this, man. I really, something gives me a jolt here. I love this
Right.
feeling. I love playing music.
Being in Oklahoma during that formative time, was there ever a thought that you'd have to go to LA or New York or somewhere, with more notable musicians to try to get something started?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my wife and I, who we've been together, 30 years now, was my girlfriend at the time, and she had family. Her dad lived in California. So we were, after high school, talking about going to California. I felt like that's what was happening at the time, and I needed to go there. And I needed to make some money. And I'll never forget a friend of mine who had a drum store in Oklahoma City. I called and went, look, I'm need to make some money quick. And do you know of a cover band? Anybody needing a drummer? Because I'm thinking I'm going to move to LA. And she goes, well, there's this band in Norman, Oklahoma. They do really well. They do frat parties, and I think they do covers. I think they're starting to kind of get into originals, but they're very popular. And I think they're needing a drummer right now. The band's called the Nixons. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I get the number. This is the classic, Fran, like, it was literally a number off a bulletin board at a music store kind of deal,
Right.
And I get the phone number. It's Jesse, the guitar player for the Nixons. And I go down and audition and meet those guys. Well, come to find out, they had just done an independent deal with the independent label. And they were wanting to do, and were doing, original music. They were getting out of the cover band thing and into original music, wanted to get a major label deal, wanted to do the deal. Everything I would have wanted to look for in Los Angeles. So I ended up staying here and touring the region nonstop with the Nixons. And we built a following and, released an independent CD that took off and sold like 15,000 copies back when you would sell physical media, was
Right.
king, and CD. And, the classic deal, labels were, battling for us. And back then radio was a lot different. Of course, radio was king back then. And local radio stations would take a chance on local bands from time to time. There were local shows and stuff, but a song of ours was getting in regular rotation in Dallas and in Oklahoma City. And that was kind of culminating with us, having successful shows with big crowds. And we sold, 15,000 of the CD we self-produced, and that ended up getting us, a record deal.
That's awesome. And speaking of Kiss, you guys got to open for Kiss.
Yeah, it was perfect timing, really. So in the 90s, mid 90s, when the Nixons had signed and we had a song that was really doing well at the time, a song called Seether, Kiss is reuniting. My favorite band in the world is putting the makeup back on. And it's like this, huge tour. And so we were with a label called MCA. Some of the higher ups, they were kind of asking us, who would you love to tour with? And I was like, God, man, I'd love to tour with Kiss. But, they're going to be taking out huge bands. I think Alice in Chains or Soundgarden, I'm sure they're going to be on there. And they go, well, actually, they're going to take out kind of baby bands. And and they're going to have multiple nights, and they're going to rotate these bands. So it was like us and 311 and a band degeneration in bands. Now Melvins were on a show, and but it was kind of these new up and coming bands they took out, and it had rotating. So we were fortunate. Yeah, we did 6 shows on that tour. One of the shows was Madison Square Garden. Kiss was like,
Wow.
bigger than they were in the 70s. It was pretty surreal. So to be there and experience that. And so I had my family all fly out to New York to, come see us, because I'm playing the legendary Madison Square Garden, opening for the band that started it all for me. And my
Right.
band's, playing before them, my heroes. So it was really a cool moment.
Did you get to meet the guys in the band?
Oh,
Like, do
yeah.
any kind of hanging? Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. And Peter Criss gave me a pair of sticks I have to this day. And they were very gracious, man. Literally, we had a sound check at Madison Square Garden. What monster bands have their openers, they could sound check and take all the time they want, they were so cool to us. Their crew was
Right.
cool to us. They had every right to be complete assholes to us, and they weren't at all. They were really cool. And
Yeah.
of course, I'd sneak into sound checks, and they'd play songs that they weren't doing in the regular show. And yeah, man, it was an awesome time.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about touring.
Yeah.
Um, it seems like it's getting harder over these past 5, 6 years to tour for bands, especially since COVID. Did you feel that impact?
Yeah, we did. Of course, yeah, we were shut down and trying to figure out what was going to happen, right? If we were ever going to get back
Mhm.
to normal, what was normal going to look like? And then we kind of did what a lot of other bands were doing. We did a live stream. I
Mm.
drove to Nashville, and we set up and did a live stream performance, a concert. And but honestly, we went out with Three Doors like spring of 21. So we were kind of one of the first touring packages that kind of got back to it when that was allowed. And I remember there was a lot of weird, mask mandates, and then some places
Right.
had them and some places didn't. And it was kind of weird, but we wanted to tour if we could. Three Doors Down is who we were touring with. They were wanting to get back to it if possible. And it was really a great tour. But I do remember as soon as it was possible for us to get out, we were back out.
Yeah, I remember going to see Three Doors Down when I was still living in California. They played a winery, kind of like amphitheater in Santa
Yeah.
Barbara. And I've toured with Three Doors Down. I've been working with those guys for a bunch of years. They're awesome dudes.
Yeah.
But I hit up Chris Henderson. I'm like, hey, man, I want to come up to see the show. He goes, absolutely. I'll get you tickets, but no one's allowed backstage. We're in a bubble. Like,
Right.
if one
Right.
person gets sick, the whole thing shuts down. And I remember
That's
that
right.
happened with Trans-Siberian Orchestra too. I know a bunch of those
Yeah.
guys, and I saw them in Anaheim or Irving. I can't remember which one it was. Same thing, man. Known those
Yeah.
guys since day one. Here's your tickets. I can probably come outside, wave at you, and say hi.
Right.
So that was a difficult time, man. But now everything seems full swing, man. Everybody's touring, out making
Yeah,
some money.
it's pretty much back to normal. Really, we haven't kind of resumed the meet and greets,
Mm,
which would be cool, because it's always cool to visit with fans and do that thing. But that was one thing, obviously, that went away during that time. But yeah, it's funny. I kind of forget those moments. Like, yeah, you're right. There was no backstage guests allowed.
yeah.
Yeah, if we wanted to say hi to you, we had to come out front. We did have to be careful, because if somebody got sick, then yes, you're right, the tour would be, so it was a crazy time for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of, you said you are you still halting the meet and greets?
uh not intentionally at this point, so hopefully that will resume. But yes, initially, right, like everybody else, we weren't doing the meet and greets.
Right. What is your thought on a paid meet and greet? And I say this because I know Jason Newsted really well from Metallica.
Yeah.
And when his solo band went out, just Newsted Metal, I toured with them. And he would always come out to the paid meet and greets and begin with saying, I don't want to do this. The only reason I'm doing it is because you're guaranteed to meet me. But if you
Okay.
ever see me in the streets or anywhere else, I will absolutely stop. And I've seen him do it. I mean, the guy is a complete rock star.
Right.
And he'll stop anywhere and take a picture, sign an autograph, or anything else.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I mean, I guess if someone's wanting to pay to meet us, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. I mean, anytime they want to do that, visit with us, I mean, it's cool with me. I've got bands, honestly, that I've seen, Kiss being one, where I've paid to for a meet and greet to meet them. I
Right.
kind of get that, but I'm with Jason too. I mean, if I'm recognized at Walmart or whatever, of course, I'll talk to somebody, take a picture, sign something. So I mean, I get it, and I guess if the fan is willing to pay for it, yeah, I'm happy to do it. I like meeting the fans, I really do. Talking to people, I always love, they like to hear this song live or that song live, or why don't you do that? Or I really like the new album, or I kind of like the last one more than this one, or what.
Right.
Uh, I get it. I'm a fan too. This is how this has all happened for me. I love music. I'm a music fan, and I get it. And if they really want to, to meet us and they're willing to pay, I mean, I guess I'm not going to stop it, I suppose. But
Right. Well, it's just a guaranteed way for the fan to meet you. 'Cause there's
absolutely,
no,
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
But I
they
mean,
could
we're
bring
old
up
enough to remember a time like that wasn't even a thing, man. I mean, can you
oh,
imagine meeting some of our favorite bands back in the day? I mean, it was like
man, I think I've
it's
told you the
everything's
story, but
changed so much.
yeah, I saw Yngwie Malmsteen in Atlanta at the old Omni, which is a big coliseum, and I think he opened up for AC/DC or somebody, but I really wanted to meet him, and there was a chain link fence, protecting him from the fans to the tour bus. And he walks out, and I'm like, Yngwie, can I get your autograph? He didn't even look at me. He was just beeline to the bus, but he reached in his pocket and took a guitar pick and flicked it at me, and it hit me in the chest without even looking at me, man. The guy's
Wow.
like a ninja. Yeah, I
Yeah.
still have that pic somewhere here, but yeah, I get it, man. If
Yeah.
you do want to meet the fan or the artist, sometimes the fans do have to pay.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a lot of artists, it's sort of the cliche to say it, but it is really true, man. I mean, the band wouldn't be here, wouldn't have the success, it wouldn't be able to tour and have people if it weren't for those fans, man. I mean, I do feel I suppose there's boundaries,
Yeah,
but I really think access to us and being able if that, the least I can do is say hello and take a picture and sign some things and talk a little bit. I mean, they really truly are the reason your band is able to do what it does, and it's because of the fans.
right. Have you ever had any kind of weird, awkward experiences with a fan that just was way beyond your boundary?
Not really. Nothing stands out. Everybody's been, for the most part, are pretty gracious. Um, yeah, you maybe occasionally there's some pushy ones that are just like, "Hey, man, so you can take me on the bus and show me around," and you're like, No," because
No, that's
they
where
don't
I
understand.
live.
Like the bus is our home. This is like taking. So nice to meet you, and thank you. I'm glad you're here, and thanks for enjoying the music. But yeah, there are certain boundaries.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I don't think you're too shy about talking about you're sober, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, how hard is that on the road, especially if some of your other camaraderies in the band partake in
yeah.
alcohol or smoking some weed or whatnot? How do you kind of distance yourself from that and not get temptation?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's been a long time now. Gosh, 17 years. So initially in the beginning it was different. I always had a drink in my hand and I used it to socialize and that was a big change. Now I really don't even think about it.
Right.
It's just kind of normal now for me. And I'll hang out always, and kind of talk to people and when it becomes kind of past that point and it's close talking and people aren't making sense and they're kind of while I've got you in my personal space kind of deal, I'll do the exit and kind of head out. But I think initially in the beginning it was difficult, but
Right.
I'm pretty used to it now. And it's I don't judge anybody for what they do, and I certainly hope they don't me. It's just my personal choice was I had to change kind of the way I was living and doing stuff, and I had an addictive personality and in some respects still
Right.
do. And so for me, I just had to do what I did.
Right, right, right. What's your favorite aspect of touring? Because it is a grind. Because a lot of the time people don't know, but you get to the venue at about 6, 7 in the morning so they can do their load in, set up the lights, focus the lights, do this
Yeah,
and that.
yeah,
And then you probably don't have anything to do till sound check if you even get one.
right,
And then it's catering, time to eat, then time to do a meet and greet. And then the show is, 7, 8 o'clock at night. You do the
right,
hour and a half show,
right.
back to the bus. Is it a grind for you to enjoy it? Like, what's your favorite part?
I think I really love the road. I think the only grind part of it is when if and when you have to fly. I hate it. It's
Yeah.
just, it's the cattle call, and it's planes with no room, and if you're delayed and you're stuck somewhere. And I've been doing this long enough. There was a time if you were delayed or your plane was canceled and you were stuck in on a layover, they would provide a hotel room for you. They'd get a
Yep.
van and shuttle you off and then bring you back. And now they don't give you're stuck. Oh well. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of it's changed. I think the flying aspect, but dude, I love hotel rooms. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I lived out of a suitcase more my adult life than I had, not having a suitcase. I mean, I love every aspect of it. Of course, I love playing, and a lot of guys say, "Well, you're paid. You're not paid for the hour and a half you're on stage. You're paid for all the traveling and the time,
Man.
the hurry up and wait time." And I think that's true to a certain extent. But I do love traveling. I love being in new places. And we're at a level we're able to travel a certain amount of comfort. We have a
Mhm.
bus, we have a band bus, and um, so I really don't take it for granted. I really started to miss it during COVID. Obviously, I'm like, wow, I took that for granted. Will this ever happen again? And thankfully, it's come back, and we'll tour again coming up now in May. I've been off for a few months, and I'm ready to go. I love
Yeah.
touring. I do. I love it.
What does John Humphrey do in his off time? You've had a lot of time off, and especially during COVID. Like, what are your hobbies? What are you into? What does your daily home life look like?
Initially, it was just kind of making up for lost time with family and stuff. And my boys, they're older now, and I've been buying and selling vinyl online,
Mm.
which I love to do. A hobby just kind of turned into. I had a lot of extra vinyl that you could take to a local store and sell for pennies on a dollar, or you can put this stuff online and kind of sell it. And then there's been some regional record shows, and I started taking my stuff to sell, buy and sell there at record shows, and started meeting some interesting people. I think at some
Right.
point I'd like to have a record store. I think that would be cool. We still tour, a few months out of the year, so still trying to figure out the logistics of all that. But yeah, I buy and sell vinyl. That's kind of my thing while I'm home, and I've really enjoyed it. And I'll do studio stuff from time to time. I'll be doing a session with some guys out of Kansas City at the end of April before the Seether tour starts. So, um, man, it's music in one shape or form with me. Which
Right.
very fortunate for that.
And I know at one time you were an avid collector of Kiss memorabilia, and you
Yeah,
have an auction coming up. Maybe talk a little bit about that and some of the stuff that you've
yeah,
had. I mean, I got to see your collection a few years ago.
right.
My mind was blown. I was just like, how did you collect or where did you acquire this stuff?
Man, a lot of that, it started when I was a kid, of course, and then I had to recollect a lot of things because as a kid, I hung that stuff on my walls and
Mm.
and did all of that. And I love the original era, that the late '70s. They call it the A Coin era, which Bill A Coin was their manager. So that was like the original merchandise, the backpacks, and they had board games, and they were one of the earliest bands to ever sort of merchandise themselves. It's become sort of a running joke of sorts with Kiss. But back in the '70s, bands weren't doing that. Bands didn't have sleeping bags and lunch boxes and all the different posters and everything. And Kiss, with the fan club, the Kiss Army, and you've got a folder full of the 8x10s and their bio and all this kind of cool stuff. As a kid, I loved all of that stuff. So when I was at a certain point in my career, I was able to kind of go get those things I wasn't able to get as a kid, and I kind of got back into it. But yeah, I've just come to a point where, a lot of that stuff. My kids love music, but I just felt like I don't think they would appreciate that Kiss stuff like I have. I mean, they like Kiss, but they're not going to want all of that. And you're just kind of like, if something were to happen to me tomorrow, I'm not leaving my kids, a gold mine. I'm leaving them a freaking burden. And
Yeah.
I felt like it was just, time to let that stuff go. And so, yeah, I'm going to be doing an auction. And it's called Backstage Auction. Auctions is the auction house. They're out of Houston. And April 5th, the week of April 5th is when all my stuff will be going up. So
Coming
yeah,
up soon. We'll put
coming
a
up.
link down below so people can find that stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What was your favorite piece that was the hardest to let go?
Oh gosh, man, there've been a few things. So I had Kiss had a song Firehouse,
Mm.
and Paul Stanley would wear a fire hat sometimes, right? Especially in the original era. So when they did the reunion and they've come back, he never really started doing that again. But there was a fan who made a fire hat just like he had in the 70s. And the guy had it all on DVD at a meet and greet. He was showing Paul the hat. Paul signed it. And I forget, it'll come back to somewhere on the East Coast, a casino on the East Coast. I'll have to think. Anyway, Paul was really impressed with the hat. He signed the hat for him, and he goes, "You know what? I ought to wear this tonight." And the fan was like, "Well, can I get it back?" And he goes, "Yeah. My security guy, I'll be sure he gets it. He'll get it back to you." So sure enough, Paul wore it that night on stage, and
Wow.
and there's photos and video of it. Anyway, this guy had it and kind of needed some money at the time, and he offered it to me, so I snapped it up. It was so cool to have the fire hat and signed, and picture of Paul wearing it. That was kind of a cool thing.
That's
And then
insane.
the other thing I have, and I don't know why it ended up being the sort of firehouse thing, is that I have a bell. So if you look at like the earliest television performances Kiss did, ABC in Concert, I think is one. They used to do, when they do Firehouse, Paul would go over to the drum riser and there would be a bell on a stand and he would ring it. This is the part where Gene would blow fire. And it's just a gold bell, has the Kiss logo on it. And a guy in New York had a rehearsal space that Kiss had used 40 years ago. The crew had left behind or gave him the bell. They're like, "We don't need this anymore. We use a recording. Paul doesn't, so here's a gift from us." And he had it for 40 years. So I'm letting go of that bell, which is, it's sort of a rock and roll historical artifact. So yeah, pretty
Yeah.
cool.
When you shipped all your stuff off to this auction house, did you ever have any regrets? Like, God, why did I let that go? I got to call them and get this thing back. Like any of the items?
No, I've kind of been able
No?
to compartmentalize the whole situation. I mean, it was hard loading it all up, and they've been really gracious. They took photographs, beautiful photographs of everything, and sent it to me on a flash drive. So if I wanted to do a book or something, which I might do, with all that stuff, it'd be great. Just like, hey, I used to have this.
Right.
But I think I'm kind of at peace with it. You know, it's just a part of my life that I still love the band and all of that. But I think it's just kind of a good time to I still have the collector bug, obviously, as you can see. So
Right.
I still kind of obviously love music, have fun, still collect things, but letting the Kiss stuff go, it just came time for me, and I've been okay with it so far. So we'll see. We'll watch the auction, and I'll go look at stuff and be like, why did I let that go?
One of
Because
the
it's like
things that,
it's like over 400 items. I mean, it's going to be a lot of
oh,
stuff. It's
I know. I
yeah,
remember
30
seeing it
plus year
all.
collection.
Yeah. Um, One thing I saw when I was at your house is you have an original, still sealed Kiss Alive.
Yes, with my vinyl. So Kiss Alive was
Yep.
my first record. I'm so excited. I had an aunt who took me and my brother to the record store. I remember I was in school, I was telling all my friends, I get to go to a record store. I get to buy a Kiss record. What Kiss record should I get? I had friends telling me, oh, get this, get that. So my brother got Kiss Alive too, and I got Kiss Alive. Wore that thing out. I mean, it had Scotch tape on it, and I mean, ring wear, and just beat to hell. I wore it out like everybody did. Love that record. But I was able to find a few years ago a still sealed original.
Oh my God.
This has the hype sticker, talks about the booklet that was inside or is inside.
That thing belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
I mean,
I,
how many do
I
you
mean,
think
I
there
think,
are out there in the world? Like a dozen?
yeah,
Like,
maybe. Yeah. I mean, what's amazing is these warehouse finds that still happen from time to time, right? New old stock, that's found. It's incredible the stuff that sometimes will pop up. So, over the years, I've maybe seen 12 or 15, but with the hype and everything, which sort of guarantees it's like the original, the first one.
right.
And it being sealed, I, of course, have other player copies of it. There's no reason to open that, and I'll leave
No,
it sealed. It's, to me, it's a historical artifact,
right. Let that burden be your children's to sell later. Right.
Yeah.
And, I purchased this one from you, which is a German copy.
Yeah, that's the
And as you can
German
see,
one.
the S's are, I guess, have been photoshopped the best they could back in that day.
Right. Sort
What
of
was
the
the reason
airbrush
they
one.
did that?
So yeah, in Germany, it's illegal for the lightning bolt logo to be used on any sort of merch or to be
Mm,
published in public or on it's too close or similar to the Nazi SS, and so it has to be changed to the sort of the Z's um,
right.
in Germany, which is crazy, right? Because Paul and Gene, they've said it, are two Jewish guys.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's just it's lightning bolts, but unfortunately, it's very similar to the Nazi SS thing over there.
Right. Right. That's wild.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the studio. So I have been fortunate enough to be in the studio with you guys, I think 3 times now, for the entire recording in Nashville with Brendan O'Brien.
yeah,
And then you did another record I was part of in Los Angeles at the Henson Studio, old A&M Studios.
right. And that was with Brendan too, right?
It may have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that experience like working with such a legendary producer that has just produced some of the most epic rock albums ever?
It was amazing. I, of course, was, really nervous kind of going in initially. I have to be real, he had done some of my favorite albums, has done. And I was a little nervous going in, like, oh man, wow, this is crazy. But he was very down to earth. He's an incredible musician and he's a true producer. I mean, we've worked with other producers in the past and they have different styles. Usually they have engineers and they're kind of directing. And Brendan is a true producer and he's a musician as well. So he can make suggestions for arrangement. He could go over to a piano and say, I'm thinking of this chord change, setting up this part. He could pick up a guitar. And there were a couple times he sat down behind the drums and kind of like showed me, like, I'm thinking a groove, a little bit like that. He could convey his ideas, and they were usually, in most cases, like spot on.
Right,
And
right.
yeah, he was incredible to work with. And I mean, we got in there and we worked. There was no slacking. He's a workhorse, man, and he likes to get it done. And but it was really a great experience, really a great experience, and
Yeah, I
truly,
remember he was super cool. The only thing is, as my job as a photographer and video guy, he hated anybody in there
right,
capturing stuff. So it was made my
right,
job a little challenging, but he gave me the room and space to breathe and get
yeah,
what I needed to get the job done for you
yeah,
guys, which was
yeah,
really cool. But yeah,
yeah.
watching
He's
him work
definitely
his magic was awesome.
he's a very private person, and I'd love to tell you that I got a lot of great stories out of him about the bands, but he like really wouldn't talk about even other artists. And
Hmm,
certainly never in a bad way. I mean, always those producers like, what was it working with, STP, and was Pearl Jam, how was that,
right,
And he was always very gracious. And I told him one of my favorite albums he's ever done is King's X's Dog Man. I love that
right.
album. Love that album. We talked a bit about that, but he always had positive stuff to say about his artists. And he really wouldn't, give you the poop on the bands that he's worked with.
Exactly.
He's very private. So I understand now why the camera probably he wanted to kind of keep, he didn't want to see everyone to see how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Exactly. He's trying to hide the magic a little bit. That
Yeah.
wasn't the case when I was for those of you who don't know, I directed and produced a movie called Hired Gun, which takes you behind the scenes of what it's like to be a session musician, touring, and what that life is like. But I got to interview Bob Ezrin, who did Pink Floyd's
Yeah.
The Wall,
Yeah.
Alice Cooper,
Wow.
Kiss, and he
Destroyer.
wasn't shy. Yeah, he would spill the beans, man. He talked about Ace and even David Gilmour, man. I was just like,
He-
really, David Gilmour struggled? He goes, oh yeah, man. It's like
wow.
pulling teeth with that guy sometimes. But it was a trip. It
Yeah.
was a trip.
Yeah.
Going back to Kiss, well, yeah. I'm
No, I
sorry.
was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say I'd love to have, worked with Bob. He's the only one I've never had been able to meet. I met Eddie Kramer, didn't work with him,
Oh
but I got to
wow.
meet him and talk to him about Jimi Hendrix and Zeppelin and Kiss and got some Ace stories out of him. It was one night, a House of Blues in Chicago. He was there to see a band, and I forget the band, but anyway, he was there going to produce them, and I just walked up and introduced myself. He was very cool. But no, I've never had a chance to meet Bob Ezrin. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Of the Kiss lineups, besides obviously the original Ace, Peter, Gene, and Paul, what would be your second?
I think I loved it when Eric Carr joined, the drummer after Peter. Um, and when I finally got to see Kiss live for the first time, he was their drummer. And that was the Creatures tour. And, and we talked about this before with Wendy O. Williams, the Plasmatics opening.
Right.
Completely freaked me out. I was there to see a band that with the guy that breathed fire and spit blood, and here she comes out, sawing guitars in half and smashing TVs. Completely freaked me out, but it was an awesome show. But Eric was the drummer, man, monster drummer, and played double bass, something Peter didn't do, and kind of took it to the next level. I saw the tours all through the '80s, and he was a great drummer. Unfortunately, he passed away from cancer in '91, and I never ever had the chance to meet him, which I'm
Right.
really sorry about that. But I've become good friends with his sister. One of his sisters, Loretta, is her name, and she has sent me some plaques to have. So there was a tribute album put together called Unfinished Business, which were some of Eric's demos. Because in addition to being a drummer, a great drummer, he was a songwriter. And he played guitar, he played bass, and he had some songs that he had put together for various Kiss albums, songs that maybe didn't make it or whatever, that he had recorded vocals, and they still had the multi-tracks, and I was able to play drums on a song called Eyes of Love. And and as a gift for doing the song, I was given some of Eric's plaques. So I have like a Creatures plaque.
Wow.
I have like an Unmasked plaque, that was all gifts from Loretta. Really, really cool. And then for Record Store Day, I think I've got it here. They released it finally on vinyl. And it looks like that.
Oh, wow.
Right. So it was on CD originally when I did it. And so anyway, I'm playing drums on a track on that. And that's how I got to meet her and friends with her. And like I said, she's been very cool. But I would have loved to have met him. So I love the lineup when Eric joins. He's a great drummer. Eric Singer is a great drummer too. The drummer they've had. He's an amazing drummer.
Yeah.
But Eric was like the guy I got to see.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing
Eric
story. When I was a kid, right? This guy comes out of nowhere to join Kiss, right? That was the whole thing. Their drummer was like this. They wanted a guy that was unknown, because it was the whole makeup thing.
Right.
It was like, Sleep Token or whatever now, where you had no idea who those guys were. You didn't know their identity. So I thought it was amazing. They kind of took this guy from complete obscurity, and he joins like my favorite band in the world, and he's their drummer. And it was just sort of an amazing story. I thought it was, so cool.
Yeah, I remember when Dave Holland exited from Judas Priest.
Yeah.
I was crushed. Crushed. I'm like, what are they going to do? And they bring in Scott Travis, who's like a machine, right?
Right.
But the purity Kiss or Judas Priest fan in me was really upset. Were you the same way
Sure.
when Peter exited
Ab
and Ace?
Yeah, yeah, they were my band. I don't like
Yeah.
changes. I'm
Yep.
really bad to this day. I don't like change at all, man,
Yeah.
in any shape or form. So I wasn't crazy. No, I didn't like it at all. I didn't know what was going on. And then Eric came in and I got to know it and I finally accepted it. And then I saw it live. And then Creatures, we've talked about this before. Kiss Alive is my first one, but my number 2 is Creatures of the Night. I love that
Right.
album. It's a great album and Eric kills it. And that's really what sold me on Eric and how I became a fan of that lineup. He
So
was just incredible.
on the album cover, isn't Ace Frehley on there?
His picture's on there. That's right.
Yeah. But
But he
who is the
doesn't play a
guitar player?
note. Vinnie
Yeah.
Vincent, for the most part, there's different guests, guitar players on it, but Vinnie Vincent comes in and he's a primary songwriter. He wrote "I Love It Loud," which was the single back then. You know, and some of the big "Lick It Up." Then after that, and he was actually the guitar player. So again, this is before social media, all of this stuff, man. I go see Kiss, and they haven't really. It was different than when Peter left. They didn't really announce Ace was gone. So I go
Right.
into the arena, I run over to the merch stand, and they've got T-shirts and everything up, and it's got this guy with different makeup than Ace. Kind of looks like Ace. The hair is the same, but I, for a minute, thought maybe Ace changed his makeup. There was an article in the paper the day after the show explaining this is Vinnie Vincent. He's the new guitar player for like they didn't even announce it. I didn't even
Wow.
know. Like, who's this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, my first introduction to Vinnie Vincent obviously was that Kiss record, but then he did the Vinnie Vincent Invasion,
Oh
and I
yeah.
showed you some pictures. This was before I was a
Yes.
professional photographer, and they were opening for Alice Cooper, I think, on the Trash Tour or Constrictor, one of those. So anyway, I made my way around to the buses with my little camera or whatnot,
Yeah.
and the bus door opens, and they are in full makeup, just about.
I
There were a
know. I was
couple of
going to
guys
say
in
they must
war.
have. I guess they wore makeup all day.
And a couple of the, I think, Mark Slaughter was just in a robe. You know,
Yeah.
he hasn't gotten dressed yet, but he still had all the makeup, and his hair was like Bon Jovi back in the day.
Dana
But
Strum is just pale with like
pale,
white makeup. He just like with lipstick.
yeah,
You're just like, which
exactly.
is
It
a
was like
trip.
corpse paint, right, from one of those
Yeah.
Swedish death metal bands.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there. I had, I lost my hair really early, but I held on for dear life, and it's just all diffused on top. And I had this saber-toothed tiger earring
Yes.
with a trench coat, like the trench coat mafia. And I
Man,
just
yeah, that's
cherish
like what
all
we're
that stuff.
talking about. That's, there weren't meet and
Yeah.
greets back then. If you wanted to meet,
No.
your bands, you had to stay, hang out at the hotel or the bus, and yeah, I mean, it's amazing you got those pictures, the great pictures.
Yeah. No, I cherish that stuff. Um, let's go back to the live performance with you guys. Do you ever get nervous at all? Like if it's a giant show, like
Yeah.
I remember when I directed your guys' music video for Tonight. It's a
Yeah.
live performance video. It's the official video. But I think we filmed it in Evansville, Indiana, and in Chicago.
Right.
And I mean, it was packed,
Yeah.
like to the rafters. Like, do you ever feel any nerves, or you just get up there and just hammer through it and you're off and back to the bus?
No, I definitely I have nerves, and you might remember I still have sort of a practice kit I go over to,
Mhm.
and for 45 minutes before the show, I kind of just loosen things up, run through stuff. Maybe if there's a song with a tricky part, I want to kind of hit again, which is great for sort of like getting me in the zone, relaxing me. We as a band, we have music, we're jamming backstage, kind of getting into the zone. But I wouldn't call it stage fright or anything, but there's definitely nerves, right? This sort of like anticipation, excitement, and there's a certain amount of God, I hope I don't screw up sort of thing that kind of goes on too. But yeah, I mean, I go through that every time, every night. And then, about the time we were shooting the Tonight video, of course, we had been on tour nonstop for a long time. And then to a certain extent, you're kind of in the zone automatically, right? Because you're just touring and playing shows
Right.
night after night. And we were tight by then, but that's still one of my favorite videos. I love that live video. And then you got us,
Yeah, it was fun.
smashing cakes and crap backstage and having fun. And
and the
And
tail on the donkey, and
yeah, yes.
yeah, that was
And I
so
was
funny.
telling
You
the
guys are,
boys,
yeah,
we had a lot of fun at the finger puppets. Do you remember there was a
yeah,
thing
yeah,
on our
yeah.
social
Oh
media the
my
other day?
god,
Do you remember
yeah,
those?
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember when you came in and
Yes,
showed me this. You're like, these finger puppets, man. I don't know what you guys can do with them, but maybe see. And it was great. You got Dale, and he's,
oh,
what is the name of
this,
your band? We're called Seether.
Seether.
You sound like you suck. And
Yeah, you
that
guys
was
were
because of
really
you.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you
you.
guys were really down for anything, man, which was really cool. You guys and probably Typo Negative would do just about anything that I would ask. You know,
And I think
uh,
that's something that the band, I think, has been able to get across at times. But a band isn't one dimensional. You know what I mean? Yes, the music, but just like human nature, human personality, there's a humor to it as well. You can't be all serious all the time. We like to
no,
laugh. We like to have fun. I mean, we've done songs and videos like Country Song, like Fake It, and you just can't be that serious thing, that one thing all the time. And I love it when the sort of the humor part of it kind of comes out. And you
yeah.
can't,
What was the one video of you guys in the old folks' home and wheelchairs and the prosthetics?
yeah, yes, yeah.
What was that?
Um, oh my God, I'm spacing on the name of the song.
I am too. But that was hysterical, man.
Yeah.
Hysterical.
We were in
Yeah.
makeup for 2.5 hours.
Oh my
And
god.
yeah, I remember that. I had been actually in the ER the night before.
Oh shit.
Um, Same damn life. It just came back.
Okay, yeah.
Took me a
Yep.
minute. No, I didn't look that up. That did come back to my old
Yep.
memory. Same damn life.
Uh-huh.
I was in
Uh-huh.
the ER the night before. I flew into LA, and I have asthma really bad. And I was sick though. And I had a massive asthma attack. Had to go to
Oh
the
god.
hospital and have a breathing treatment. So they had a double dressed like me with the makeup and the hair just like me in case I couldn't get through the takes. So I was able to do the video and get through it. And that was like, doing a mini movie, right? They had
Right.
trailers. You had a makeup artist because they had to make us look old. It's an amazing job they did. But there's a scene where I'm playing and I stop and pause and grab for my inhaler and do a puffer like an old man struggling and then go back to playing. Well, that inhaler's mine. It's real. And
It wasn't a prop.
it
Yeah.
wasn't a prop, and I had been sick, and that was there. And the director's like, "Let's do this great bit where you grab for it, you stop playing." So
That's wild.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is wild. And it's such a great video, man. I mean, what a concept. Um, we're both getting older. We're not getting any younger. I had to exit from touring um, because I was getting older and I wanted to kind of settle in a little bit. I've been touring since 2000,
yeah,
and Five Finger Death Punch helped my decision to retire early from touring. It was miserable, you
yeah.
know. Definitely like the guys, but it was a chaotic situation with them. This is when Ivan was not sober, and a couple of the
Wow.
other guys in the band weren't either. It's no secret. But do you see a time where you just want to hang it up and just stay still?
Man, I don't know. I love playing, man, and I made jokes like I want to kill over at a freaking wedding playing drums with the wedding band at 80,
Like
something.
Nick Menza,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, God rest his soul. I mean, I love playing, and it's such a big part of who I am. I mean, I do love the road, but I mean, realistically, the kind of music Seether does, it takes a certain amount of a physicality. And yes, you're right.
Mhm.
I'm not getting any younger, and that time will obviously come, whether I like it or not.
Right.
And but for now, I'm enjoying it, still enjoying it. I still feel pretty good, and I always say it, man, but it's true. I'm very blessed and fortunate to be able to do this. I've been doing it now with Seether over 20 years, which is incredible. I'm the luckiest guy on the planet, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do this and meet people like you and make friends with guys like you, and stories we have,
Oh,
and the memories. It's just incredible. And I know there'll come a time where, not going to be hopping on a tour bus and But for now, at least for the foreseeable future, as long as I can do it, I'm still gonna, be damned. I'm gonna be out there doing it as long as I can.
Hell yeah. Yeah, my favorite memories of you and I on tour were waking up in the mornings and finding the local breakfast spot and eating oatmeal for whatever reason.
Yes,
It's
I
just
have
so
these. Yeah,
filling and good.
me too. I have memories,
Yeah.
walking around New York City, like this
Yep.
one where we're like looking for a diner, talking about oatmeal, and
Yeah.
that was our thing there for a while. Um, yes,
Oh,
yeah,
I
New York
remember
City.
New York, and speaking of Kiss memorabilia, I remember we
Oh
went in, it was
God,
in the evening, and we walked into like it was a weird store, man. It had a little bit of everything, but memorabilia,
right.
posters, CDs, DVDs. And I saw this Kiss backpack that was still sealed. I don't know. You'll be able to tell me the date and everything of that thing, but I'll let you take it from there.
Oh man, yeah, it's such a cool store in the middle of Manhattan. And you were like, look at all this old Kiss stuff, and they had tour books and bumper stickers, and so they had a 1977, again, back to that a coin era, the original era, the original manager, backpack, still sealed in the plastic bag, still had the packing around it, and just like it came off a store shelf in 1977. I was so excited. And then they had little, little things there. They had a Creatures of the Night sticker, and I think like an old
Buttons. Yeah.
buttons, and maybe a backstage pass or something. I don't know, little stuff. I go up to the front counter and I go, "Do you have something I can put this little stuff in?" And he goes, "No, I don't have any bags, but look." And he takes his freaking finger and sticks it in the end of that plastic bag in this Italian and just rips
Oh,
open that bag. And I'm like, sort of passing out or something. I don't know what's going on. And I'm thinking to myself, is that in a bag, in a bag? Am I really seeing what I'm seeing? I mean, what's going on? Maybe there's something, a shoplifting bag around it or something that
right.
he's taking off. Well, no, he's tearing into this 40-year-old packaging and drops that stuff in. And this is after we have sort of haggled on price and worked it all out.
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh my God." And he kind of looks at me like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, I don't want this now. Holy
Yeah.
crap. What did you do? I don't think he realized what he had done. I mean, but we walked back across the street. I was in tears. You were laughing. And I
Yeah.
was like, that was just the craziest story. I finally found it on eBay or Craigslist. I finally did get a sealed backpack, but that one I didn't get. And that was just the craziest memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You were with me on that one.
Dude, you turned white as a sheet.
Oh,
You were
yeah.
so upset. This lasted with you for about a week,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
just dumbfounded because that was a really
Yeah.
hard item to find.
Shaking my
Um,
head going, "Oh my God. What happened? Did that happen? Was it
right.
all a dream?" I mean,
Oh my God. So I'm seeing this massive collection of vinyl behind you.
yeah.
Um, like how many albums do you think you have? And what are some of the, you showed me the Kiss one, what are some really rarities that you own?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I have about 3,800 LPs, and I have, all kinds of different stuff. I have Kiss test presses. I have a test press for The Elder. I have a UK test press for Rock and Roll Over.
Wow.
Um, I love promos. Back in the 70s and 80s, promo copies were usually the first ones off the press. A lot of times they would do white labels.
Hmm.
And I think I have Kiss's first album here.
And don't they have like the gold stamp on there, promo only or something?
Sometimes they can have a gold stamp,
Yeah.
but here's the first Kiss album, right? And the
Wow.
label was Casablanca, which was Casablanca started out as an indie label, and it was distributed by Warner Brothers. So the first record has this Warner Brothers promo sticker,
Right.
and so that's a white label. So I love those promo copies, and let's see. So when after Kiss
Wow.
Alive was a huge album, they put together these first three albums in a package called the Originals, and have the first three albums. So this is a still sealed originals.
I remember when I bought that as a kid myself. I was
Yeah. And this is
kicking
so hard to
myself.
find. Usually it's kind of like a folder with the record slipped inside, and it's usually just beat up and all beat to hell.
Right, right.
But yeah, I have Beatles and I like all kinds of stuff. I have, Frank Sinatra, I have Pantera, I have Jim Croce, I have Metallica, Van Halen, obviously Beatles, Aerosmith, AC/DC. And I have records that I play. Obviously, I love the sound of
Mhm.
vinyl. I love playing records, but I also have that, like we were, the Kiss stuff. I have this collector's mentality, so that's why I like promos or I like sealed things or whatever, because it sort of feeds that collector thing in me. And
Right.
then I love on tour, and it probably goes along with being sober now, but sort of feeding that addictive personality I have. On days off, I go to record stores or antique
Oh,
shops or
yeah.
whatever. I'll hop in an Uber and go to a store. And I love, uh, there's an app I have called Vinyl District, and I've used it all over the world, and it'll tell you independent record stores within a certain mile radius of whatever location you're at. So
Hmm.
I've used that thing in South Africa. I've used it in the UK, in Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and been able to walk or Uber to record stores. I love doing that when I'm on tour.
Right. And you do have a Discog store, right, where you actually sell some of your albums?
Yes, I do. JH Vinyl um, on Discogs. Yeah,
Okay. And then sometimes I notice on your Instagram, that's how I got this Kiss record, the German one, is you'll post stuff from time to time on your IG and
right.
like first person to say sold. And I
Yeah.
saw that pop up and I'm like, sold. I want that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, so which is also JH Vinyl. So, yeah, that's the Instagram, that I have, and I'll post things from there from time to time, but, uh, eventually, I'd like to work into maybe an online store, or like I said, maybe a physical store, but for now, yeah, I sell mostly through Discogs,
Hmm.
and that's discogs.com/JH Vinyl.
Okay. We'll make sure to add that to the link as well.
Yeah.
Um, let's switch gears here and just do this or that or whatnot. But what would be your dream band to see on stage one day that n- not of the band, but like the like members of a band?
To, like, you mean like living or dead kinda deal, or?
Exactly. Yeah.
Dude, I tell you what, I'm such a nerd, and you may know this, but there's been all this old Van Halen footage popping up on
Hmm.
YouTube. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I do.
And it's like their first tour in Japan, and pro shot, like, Diver Down tour, them on the Donington UK Donington Fest back in '84.
Right.
And I think next to Kiss, Van Halen, the original Van Halen's like a huge, huge thing for me.
Mm.
And it was funny, I was just talking to a buddy, we're like, "Man, isn't this all," via text, we're like, "Man, isn't this incredible?" And I'm like, "Maybe when we die, God will be like, okay, you can go relive one moment in time. Where would you like to go?" And I'd go,
Right.
"Anywhere in the late '70s or '80s where the mighty Van Halen is playing. I'd love to go back and see them." I never got to see the original band.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I was
Okay.
at the first reunion show when Wolfie started. So,
Right.
Seether was on tour, and we were playing Charlotte, North Carolina. The night before at the arena was the first David Lee Roth back show. I saw the first
Oh,
reunion
wow.
show, 2007. It was awesome,
That is
but I
killer.
never got to see the original band.
Yeah, lucky for me, man, my mother was very liberal with me with music, what I would listen to or whatnot, even though she's a devout Christian. Like she'd walk into my room, I'd have all those collage posters of Kiss and Twisted Sister with D. Snyder with a bone and all that stuff. But she allowed me, I don't know how old I was, but I went to the Monsters of Rock. And I think you're the one that told me that was Roth's last show ever.
Yeah, yeah, in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were I remember, yeah, we were looking through your
Hmm.
scrapbook, you had those photos,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Fran, where did you get these?" And you're like,
Yeah.
"I
Yeah.
took those. I was
Yeah.
there." I'm like,
Yep.
"Dude, that was literally the last show,"
I
because
don't even recall that, but
it's
I was there. I
amazing.
think Ozzy was on there, and I think I was there to
Yeah,
see him mostly.
yeah,
I'm a Van Halen fan, but I really loved Ozzy and Black Sabbath. But
yeah,
that was a trip. Speaking
yeah.
of Ozzy, he's doing his last show here. Like, Ozzy's had some incredible musicians. Who's your favorite, or what is your favorite era of Ozzy? Was it the Randy era, the Zach Wild, the Jakey Lee?
Man, I love, of the two Randy albums, and the one I got first for whatever reason as a Christmas gift one year was Diary of a Madman. Love
Mm,
that album. The first two, of course, and Randy. And I'm a huge Tommy Aldridge fan, right? Which was his drummer. He didn't play on those records. It's Curse Lake, but Tommy was his drummer, and he's incredible. He's one of my favorites, and I
right.
love Tommy as a drummer. So the US Festival was on cable when I was a kid. All those bands, right? It was Scorpions, Van Halen. So it's Ozzy, and it's like Jakey Lee right as he's joined. And I remember thinking, man, this guy is amazing. What a great guitar
Right.
player. And it's Tommy on the drums, just killing it. I love that lineup. And so I love Jake E. Lee too. That's hard to say. The Randy lineup, of course, I never got to see that live, but I mean, Ozzy's had some amazing drummers, but Tommy would be my favorite. And I really like Jake E. Lee. And then I like Badlands. I thought they were
Oh,
awesome. We were talking
incredible.
about that. Ray Gillen and Eric Singer was the drummer for them, and I
Yeah.
love Badlands and Jakey Lee, and that was a really cool era too. I
Yeah, it
really like,
was.
a lot of people slack off Ultimate Sin. Um, I think it's a pretty good album, and Bark of the Moon, of course, but
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I love that era of Ozzy too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know who your two favorite bands are. So Kiss, Crew. Who would be the other two? Like to round off a four.
Well, yeah, Kiss Crew is up there. Tommy, I have to say, because I haven't mentioned it yet, man. I mean, I was 13. Again, this goes back to the perfect time to just get my drum set for the first time and be in band. And On Comes Looks to Kill, right?
Mhm.
Again, fully admit, I'm an 80s kid. MTV was like the thing I watched all day, all the time. I did my homework. I watched MTV. And anyway, On Comes Looks at Kill, and this drummer, and he's spinning sticks and doing the round the head, and he's cooler to me. No offense, he's cooler than the singer. I was just like drawn to like this magnetic,
Right.
charismatic drummer. I just thought it was incredible, and that was another turning point for me. Like, oh, you can play drums and it can be cool.
Right.
You can
Right.
make it. It can be. You can perform and make it a thing. And I really loved it when I saw Tommy and live, and it was just kind of sealed the deal for me. So yeah, so it's Kiss, it's Crew, it's Van Halen for sure would be the big three that changed my life. The fourth one, God, man, that's I don't that would be that's kind of tough. I have to think, we talk about early Ozzy, I love.
Yep.
Um, and even as the 90s came along and I was in a band and professionally doing it, there was a lot of great bands and drummers, man. I love Soundgarden and Matt Cameron.
Mm.
Um, I've had a chance online only, but hope to meet Dave Abbruzzese, who was the drummer for Versus. He was Pearl Jam's drummer. He's a killer drummer, and he played on Unplugged, and he did Versus, and he Vitology. He's a killer drummer. That was, even back then, those guys were so inspiring to me. Great, great drummers, and I like a lot of different stuff. I'm definitely a rock guy through and through. Dean Castronovo, I think he's an incredible
Mm.
drummer too, man. And not only can he, I mean, how talented can one guy be? He's not only a killer drummer, but he could sing like Steve Perry. It's like,
Dude.
it's crazy. Neil Sean had this project he released on DVD called Journey Through Time, where they can do like classic, way like pre-Perry Journey all the way through, because Greg Raleigh's with him, the original keyboardist. And
Mhm.
then Castronovo can sing like Steve Perry, so they can do all the big hits. So they put this out on DVD. It's like a 3-hour set of him doing Journey stuff. I wish that version of Journey was actually on tour. It's incredible, and Dean does an amazing job. He's like definitely one of my favorite drummers. Incredibly
Oh, he's
talented guy.
killer.
He's just killer,
Killer drummer. Yeah.
killer.
What are your four top favorite albums of all time that you never get sick of listening to?
Oh man, for Van Halen, Fair Warning is one of my favorites. Absolutely
Killer.
love. Uh, I would put Beatles' Abbey Road actually up there.
Mhm.
I love that
Okay.
album. It's a beautiful album. It's really well crafted. I mean, Beatles are the Beatles, of course, but that's an amazing album. I guess for, just for kicking it all off, I'll have to put Kiss Alive on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then surprisingly, and it's a killer album through and through, is Soundgarden's Super Unknown.
Right.
That's a great album, man. Killer album. And especially 4th of July. Like, I love
Mm-hmm.
that song. Such a cool song. It's produced really well. And I think Brendan O'Brien mixed that album, mixed that track. And he, again, was one of those things like, man, I love the work that you've done, Brendan. And that was one of my favorite, 4th of July, but I really like Super Unknown.
Right. Right. What's your guilty pleasure music that nobody would expect?
Nobody would expect. I kind of like Hall & Oates.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All
I
right.
mean, I'm talking about Journey.
Yeah.
I'm 80s again. So iHeartMedia has this classic American Top 40, Casey Kasem, right? And I grew up on
Yep.
Casey Kasem, right? So 80s Huey Lewis in the News. I mean, there's some guilty
Oh,
pleasure stuff in there, I have to
killer
admit.
stuff.
But it's
You
great
know,
stuff.
yeah. I'll tell you what was funny, man. I did a documentary on Ray Parker Jr., who was famous for writing and performing Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But his career is just so massive. And I remember when I got the okay to go interview him, I was like, oh my God, this is the guy who wrote and sang The Other Woman. I'm in
Yeah.
love with The Other Woman. It had that
Yeah.
fuzzy guitar, and I used to listen to it on early FM radio when they were playing rock stuff. And then when I interviewed Clive Davis, he was talking about that song in Ray's, kind of heavy guitar. It's just
Yeah.
this fuzzy, kind of cool guitar thing. And he's like, I forced, white radio to play it because they didn't know if it was white or black because all they
Right.
cared about was like that groove, So it was
Right.
pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could time travel back, and I think you may have answered this, to see a show, what would it be that you've
Yeah.
not seen before?
Yeah. I mean, I have to, I think, like I mentioned, I think Van Halen would be one. I think to see Randy Rhoads
Hmm.
live, it'd probably be those that have passed away.
Right.
I'm, weirdly, starting out as a little kid, I don't know if I saw him on TV. I don't know what it was, but one of the first records my parents got me was Elvis. I think
Yeah.
I'd love to have seen Elvis live. I never got to see him live. Um, yeah, I'd love to to have seen Zeppelin. There's
Mhm.
definitely, Pink Floyd, some legendary bands that just a little before my time that I didn't get to
Right.
see. Sabbath in their heyday. Man, that's tough. A lot of cool
Oh my
stuff.
God. That would have been really cool to see Sabbath back then. Do you remember where you were when Elvis died?
Yes, I just got home from school, and it was on TV. My mom had the TV on, and I remember. Yeah, came home from school. I remember. Do you remember?
Wow. I do, man. I was living in Marietta, Georgia at the time. And I don't know if anybody remembers or you do. There was a arcade game called Defender,
Yeah,
where you're a little spaceship and you're just doing this and that. Well, they had a machine at GEX, which was a independent grocery store, and I would go in there and I was obsessed with that game. Like I turned that game over several times, like in the
yeah.
millions of points. But over the intercom, they announced that Elvis had just died,
Wow.
and you could hear the gasps. It got silent,
Yeah,
like all the cash registers would say just silence, and then you could
yeah.
hear people start weeping.
Right.
Especially the women. It's just
Yeah,
like wow.
yeah.
I'll never. That was like 9/11. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was
man. I mean,
serious.
being from Georgia and being from Oklahoma, we're from the South, that
Yep.
was Elvis was huge, right? A lot of,
Oh yeah.
lot of people. And again, he was one of the last shows through Oklahoma, the last year of his life. I remember hearing ads for the show on the radio, and I was begging my mom at the time, can we go see Elvis? And she's like, well, maybe next time you're a little bit, maybe he comes through again, and he'll come through again. We'll take you. Okay. I was
Mm,
so young, man. I would have been 7, but I just, for
yeah.
whatever reason, again, I loved music from an early age and wanted to see him. Well, we'll see him again. He'll come back through. And of course,
Oh,
he died, and that never happened. But Yeah, I would have loved to have seen him.
Yeah. If you could jam with any musician, past or present, who would that be?
Man, I know he's a drummer for the most part, but I love Dave Grohl. I have a lot of
Mhm.
respect for him. I think he's incredible, and I'd love to just, I don't know, jam with him. Absolutely, I
Oh,
don't
that'd be
know.
cool.
Yeah, I like Dave Grohl.
I got to see Dave Grohl in this intimate setting last year. There's a piano player that he was a part of the Spiders from Mars with David Bowie. His name's Mike Garson.
Okay,
Incredible piano keyboard player. And he did a residency at a place called oh God, what's it called? The Rose something or another in Los Angeles. Just a little small, intimate jazz club. But Dave Grohl's daughter, Violet Grohl,
yeah.
was the guest singer that evening, and
Oh,
has she
wow.
got a voice, man? She can
Yeah,
sing like crazy. So they're doing all these Bowie songs and stuff, and then Dave Grohl was standing right next to me watching the show, literally crying, like he was so
wow.
proud. And the daughter's like, "Dad, can you come up here?" They had a little drum kit set up. Will you come up and jam with me? Of course. He runs up there and they do what is it, heart shaped box.
Wow, yeah.
Oh my God, chills
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Wow,
was awesome.
that's incredible.
Yeah. What's the best rock documentary you've ever seen?
Oh, man. Hired gun, right?
Great answer. It doesn't have to default to that, but yeah, I mean, that was fun to make.
Yes. No, that it really was, though. I mean, I loved, so many of the
Thank you.
guys that you spoke to. Liberty DeVito, I was always a big fan
Mhm.
of the original Billy Joel band, and, interesting stories, and Rudy Sarzo. I think that was one of the first times, if not the first time I ever heard him, like, really talk about that day when Randy died. That was
Yeah.
pretty obviously very emotional.
Oh man, let me tell you,
Yeah.
if you want to know the backstory behind that, I interviewed Rudy twice. The first time I kind of glossed over it just out of respect. And then when I watched the footage back, I'm like, man, he's so potent, right?
Yeah.
Just a great storyteller and the
Yeah.
the legacy that he has. So I called him up. I'm like, man, I was like, I really want to make you a major thread in this movie, but we skip over why you left Ozzy. And it was because Randy's death.
Right.
And he agreed to do it. So we just went over there. We only talked about that. We kind of lit it, kind of ominous, because it's a really heavy story.
Yeah, it is.
And he went into it, man. And what you see captured there on film is legit. Like
Yeah.
it tore him up. It tore our crew was in tears,
Oh,
like
yeah.
everybody. Yeah. And
Wow.
the way our guys edited it, the sound mix, and
Well, it came across, and no one had ever talked about that day like he did, and for that. So
yeah.
that in of itself was just like, yeah, intense. It came across intense for sure.
Yeah, super. And when it came to the music, I had commissioned the Crystal Method to do the score for the film, the original score. I was like, it needs a little something. So, for those of you who don't know, I used to tour with Stained for like 7 or 8 years, studio touring, the whole deal. And I asked Mike Mushock, I was like, man, could you put something over this that's a little,
Yeah.
would fit this
Yeah.
scene? And I already had the stems or whatever from the Crystal Method guys, and I sent it to him. And what you hear during that scene is Mike Mushock and the Crystal Method,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, it really worked well for that scene.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Um, Here's a good one. What's the best piece of advice you ever received about the music industry?
Oh, man. Good advice. I don't know. Maybe it was somebody telling me don't do it.
Trust me, I know. I know. It's like, dude,
That
here's the thing, man. We sacrifice our families when we're touring, our health
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
because but what a lot of people don't know, man, you could be in 3 different time zones in a day and a half, right?
Right. Right.
So it does take a toll on you. And to this day, man, the thought of having to, what you said, like go to the airport,
Yeah.
and I fly quite often. you know, and luckily we live in the middle of America, so the flights are small, but
Right.
just the airport experience, man. As soon as TSA and cleared, I mean, I was the first person to sign up for that
You
shit
get
because
that.
I
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
hate the airport experience. Getting
Yeah.
on an airplane, fine. It's the whole airport experience, getting there, parking, getting in, getting, you know, the whole thing. I loathe it. It's the worst
Yeah.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah. People
And
aren't
then when I
friendly
get to my
anymore.
seat, oh no, I remember my son and I, we went to Australia, and we get to Australia and their customs people. Hi, welcome to Australia. We hope you have a wonderful time.
Wow.
Coming back, LAX, full on cattle herd. What the
Yeah.
hell are you doing? Get over this. I was like,
Yeah.
good
They're throwing your
Lord,
stuff
man.
across,
Yeah,
go back.
exactly. Exactly, man.
Just hating their
What's
life.
what yeah, what's one piece of gear you cannot live without?
Oh, man. Well, I guess my phone, right?
Yeah,
Before that, I mean,
exactly.
I have to have music, man. I mean, really, especially flying, I love
Mhm.
it just kind of makes the time tick away. And before that, when it came out, and I miss it a lot, was the iPod Classic.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I I had 2 or 3 of those, man. I had the first
Yep.
one and then the second or third generation, and I have one that still works, so whenever I walk or exercise or whatever, I still use it. I love it because I loaded it up with
Really?
most of my CD
Wow.
collection. Yeah, the battery still works. There's guys online now
Holy
that will
crap.
refurbish them for you and kinda I think
Hmm.
they're I loved that thing, and for the longest time, I'd take the iPod with me, and the family
Right.
got it for me as a gift, and it was engraved from them on the back. I mean, it was just so
Oh, that's
cool. I
cool.
loved that piece of, you know, music.
Speaking of the old iPod, man, I remember going to NAMM one time from Atlanta with Corey Lowry, you're now a guitarist, and this is when
Yeah,
the iPod first came out. And I remember buying one and just thinking, "Oh my god, man, I can listen to all my music on, you know,
yeah,
for the whole 5-hour flight or whatever." It was awesome. But
yeah.
I don't
Oh, I
I mean,
was
they were tiny back then, those I mean, they were
yeah,
huge, but the capacity, I forget what it was. You could hold
yeah,
like 1,000 songs or like,
right,
"What?"
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you wanted to, downgrade the bit rate to, nothing and you could, and then finally as the different generations came along and they could hold more, they had more space. And then I had 10,000 songs and, was able to I had some video on it. You could do video as well. And,
Yep.
yeah, you could go to the iTunes store and buy music videos or movies or whatever. And so I used the hell out of that thing. I love the iPod. Of course, now we just use our phones, but I loved
It's
that thing.
incredible, man. Technology is just insane, like
It is. I mean, I
crazy.
wish, my kids when they were little, I mean, Skype was like, was the closest we
Mhm.
could get, right? Wasn't FaceTime and you couldn't talk to them daily. And I mean, it was difficult. I was just talking to my wife about this last night. We're talking about me when I was touring Europe, you've got the 8 to 10 hour time change, time difference.
Yep.
The kids are getting out of school, you're on stage or, whatever it was, headed to bed or you're asleep or whatever. And we'd go, it was nothing to be gone on tour for like 11 weeks and like not see them for, 11 weeks. And then,
Yep.
and a lot of that's a blur. And yes, you're right. We sacrifice so much, my kids and family and life. And you're sort of in a time warp, right? You're in a bubble doing your thing, and you come home and you want to pick right up where you left off, but life's gone on, right? And
Yep.
life's, and the kids have grown. Both times I was gone and came back, my wife and kids would pick me up from the airport. Both times my boys, their voices had changed, literally
Yep.
dropped
I
between the
remember
few
all
weeks
this.
that I had gone and come back. And I'm like talking to my wife, I'm like, Jen, Jackson's voice has changed, and she didn't notice, right? It's like they're together every day. She didn't. I'm like, his voice has dropped. It's completely changed. Just things like that. It's just, it's
Right.
definitely a
Speaking of the
sacrifice,
kids, yeah, yeah. Speaking of the kids, man, so my son has been involved in my career, like coming to photo shoots with me since he was months old, right? I got a picture of him and Dave Mustaine when he was 3 years old when I had to do a photo shoot with Megadeth, and he was with me. And
Yeah,
then, you know, his first concert was at 7. It was Korn, Limp Bizkit, and Helmet. Back then, I don't think he realized what all that was back then. And
Right.
then, I have photos with him and, Kerry King, Zach Wilde, and Dimebag.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He is not phased in the least. Are your kids that way?
I think the same thing in the sense that, especially Jet, my youngest, who's now 20,
Mhm.
we've got pictures of all of us like with Vinnie Paul or whatever. And he was
Right.
really little when, Seether was gone a lot. So he does appreciate it now. And he goes, Dad, I had no idea who he was then. I do. Man, it's so cool. I wish I could go
Right.
back. I understand now. He was little, right? It's just Dad did this. This is what Dad did. And we would DVR anytime Seether was on the Tonight Show or Jimmy Kimmel or whatever, and they would wake up
Right.
in the morning and Jim would play. Dad was on TV. I mean, it was just like sort of part of life, kind of surreal. Obviously, not
Mhm.
all dads did that. But there's
Right.
definitely they appreciate it now, and I think it shows in that both my kids are in music. I mean, they're both really talented, but they're both playing music. Gone last night, both playing shows. Jet was with his band in Houston, and Jackson was in Manhattan, Kansas. So they're somewhere in there. They appreciated not only what I did, but it also became their passion, their life too. Which
Right.
a big part of you is really happy. You want them to be happy and love what they do. Another part of you is like, "You're really going to do this? This is what you want to do?"
Man, I was
Oh
terrified because my
man,
son, he's obsessed with cinema, right?
yeah,
And making a film that gets distributed might be the most difficult thing on the planet Earth. I'd attribute it as like writing a number one hit song. Like it's
right,
difficult. All the right ingredients have to be there. It's
right,
got to be compelling, the whole deal. But he, I thought, was going to go that route. He went to college for a little bit to film school in Marin County in California when we lived there. And then he transitioned over into pharmaceuticals, which is what he's doing now and doing really well at it. But it's funny, man. Like, I've toured with Slayer several times, 2 or 3 times. And my son now lives in Brooklyn, New York. So when I went to go see him last in October, I called up Kerry King and his wife. I was like, "You guys want to grab dinner?" And they were both around. So we did. And of course, Zach knows who Slayer is. Um, I think he spent a Thanksgiving with me with Slayer when they played Atlanta, right?
right.
But I was there to see my son, and then we're going to go to one of his favorite band's concerts, a band called Boris. They're a 3-piece Japanese sludge metal band, right?
Wow. Yeah,
Crazy low tunings like you've never heard before. I mean, it's scary, right?
yeah, yeah.
Even for me. But we were going the next day, and Carrie was like, "What are you guys getting into?" And Zach's like, "Oh, we're going to go see, Boris tomorrow night." They have the heaviest guitar tones in the world. Kerry King was like, "Do you know you're talking to the guy who wrote Angel of Death and Hell
Right,
Awaits?"
right, right. Rain
We're
and
just all
blood.
exactly, man. We're just all laughing. So it's cute stuff like that
Right.
it's pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah.
So would you rather play a sold out stadium or like intimate club shows?
I think club shows for sure. They're
Yeah,
sort of like you were talking earlier or asking earlier about, getting nervous. And they're sort of like a show, some of the rock festivals we do, the crowds are so big, man. 50 in
right.
Europe too, 50, 60, 70,000. You have the barricade and there's just it seems like
So much space.
it's so
Yeah,
much space and there's this distance. It's almost sort of surreal. So you have to focus on obviously, playing the songs, connecting with your band, everybody being able to hear everybody and just do your thing. And so you just kind of, for me, hunker down and just, play the show and play the songs to the best of my ability. I think the smaller shows, more intimate ones are definitely, you can see people right up front and some of the most nerve wracking ones are like the hometown shows, especially, right? When you have
yeah,
family and friends. I still feel like the little kid that your mom's like, well, come out here and show everybody, play a drum solo for everybody, or, whatever it is. And you're completely nervous. And that's so awkward. There's a little bit of that with hometown shows, but
right,
I think I prefer those over the big shows for sure.
right. What do you think about the resurgence of some of these early 2000? Like we went to go see Creed together.
Yeah.
It was absolutely packed. The production was insane.
Yeah.
They were probably bigger than they were back in the day.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It was an amazing show. And yeah, I think things go in cycles, and there seems to be this real trend of early, mid 2000s rock music, making a comeback. And I think
Right.
it's great. It's definitely, Seether started out in that era, and
Mhm.
we're a part of that as well. And I think it's great. I think every generation, I know for us too, I love rediscovering older stuff that was maybe before my generation. And I think that's still sort of maybe part of human nature. And there's sort of this connection that's happening with kids today, younger, and mixed with people that are our age that actually lived the time period, and we're going back to have fun and remember those great songs or see the band or whatever, connected with this new young crowd. I think it's amazing. I think it's great.
Yeah. No, that was a fun night, man. Seeing Three Doors Down, Wolfie Van Halen
Yeah,
crushed
Wolfie.
it.
We're going to be
Ugh.
announcing a tour, and I think we may be doing some shows together.
Mm.
Yeah, I love Mammoth, man. Great band. Great band. He's so
Yeah.
talented, and I really like the songs. I love those 2 albums he's done so far. Really good.
Right.
Definitely
Right.
good. And of course, we're good friends with Three Doors Down, and
Yep.
and it's funny, Flip and Mark, and I know more because Seether has played obviously with Alter Bridge, right? I mean,
Hmm.
we've done a lot of shows together because by the time Seether was kind of full force, Creed was broken up. So
Right.
I know Mark and those guys more so from touring and doing festivals with Alter Bridge. So that was my first time to see Creed. I never saw Creed back in the day.
Oh,
So
really? Yeah. I saw
yeah,
Creed
yeah,
back
that
in
was
the
my
day.
first time to see him, and of course I know those guys, but it was always,
Hmm.
after Creed. So yeah, I'm very
Right.
happy for them, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked. Such good guys too, man. I got to
Really
do
good
the
guys.
very first, yeah, I got to do the first Alter Bridge tour. It was a club tour. Insane.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
Submersed. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Submersed. Yeah.
Yep. Submersed, and it was awesome. Some crazy moments on that tour too. Acoustic set or full electric set?
Oh, full electric. Full
Yeah.
electric. I like the acoustic thing. We did an album called One Cold Night,
I
and
remember that.
yeah, I mean, it did turn out really good. And a lot of those songs sort of transpose themselves really well to acoustic. I think I'd love to do, we joke about it, another cold night. I think it would be cool. I'd love to do
Hmm.
another unplugged show and record it and do songs that we didn't do on that first one. I'm not against it, but for me, man, I love rocking out. So it'd have to be full on electric.
Right. I remember another memory with you guys is I got to direct and film some. It was for Yahoo Music, and it was an
Yeah.
acoustic set. You
Yeah.
know, I want to say it was even before Troy, and it was one of your techs that became your guitar player. I forget his
Yeah.
name.
Brian.
Brian. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
I
You
know
remember
this.
where that was?
It was in Atlanta.
It was
I'm
Atlanta.
pretty
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Atlanta. I've got the
Right.
footage here somewhere. I'll make sure I share it with you.
Yeah.
Or you can just look on Yahoo or Yahoo because that's where it
Yahoo.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. 80s hair metal or 90s grunge?
Oh, it goes in phases.
Oh,
But
really?
n 80s hair metal.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So not all of it is aged well, but by and large, I still love a lot of it. I mean, the crew stuff and yeah, I'd say 80s hair. That's kind of
Right.
where that's what started it all off for me, you know.
Sure. Sure. Would you rather win a Grammy or a Hall of Fame induction? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction.
Hall of Fame induction. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, I think it's an honor, to be, not only remembered, but to be noted for your contributions to, your genre, to your style of music. And I think Hall of Fame is cool. I don't know. The Grammys have changed, man. I
Yeah,
don't
they
know if
have.
they hold that same thing that they did when I was a kid. Watching Michael Jackson go up to get his 18th Grammy. I don't know. It's just I think it's
Right.
different now. It doesn't have that same sort of thing for me anymore. I don't know. And the Hall of Fame, is hit or miss too. But I do love the idea of showing gratitude for those that have pioneered and helped kind of create, rock
Hmm.
music as we know it today.
It's funny. I got to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction show in Los Angeles, and it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, but it was the year that Judas Priest and Dolly Parton got inducted,
Yeah.
and I got to
Wow.
go. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
killer seats, the whole show, but Pat
Wow.
Benatar, and getting to see them play, and it's live too. A lot of people may think that they pre-record this stuff. Man, Duran Duran came out, killed it. Pat Benatar killed it. The Eurythmics,
Yeah.
um, Dolly, and man, all the special guests that come up. Bruce Springsteen to like Olivia Rodrigo.
Right.
Eminem that night got inducted and came out and did a song with Ed Sheeran, and then
Yeah.
Steven Tyler comes out. You're like,
Yeah.
what am I seeing? And then the end, Rob Halford and Dolly Parton do a
Yes.
duet, yeah, of Jolene, man. And it was
Yes.
it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Are,
Incredible. Yeah.
are you a coffee guy or energy drink guy?
Oh, coffee guy for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Late night or early mornings?
Early mornings. I used to be a night owl, and when we're on the road, of course, tend to stay up later. But I'm more of morning guy now.
Yeah,
Don't
me
really
too.
stay up. I used to all through my 20s, man. I'd stay until the sun came up, kind of thing. But
Yeah. It's yeah, it's easy to do, especially when you're touring, because a lot of people don't know what bus call is, but that's
right,
when you better be on the bus, and the
yeah,
bus is taking off so it's usually around 2 a.m., right?
right, right.
Yeah, and then then your adrenaline from the show, you're
Oh
hanging out
yeah,
with fans and the band
yeah.
and friends,
Talking,
family,
yeah.
and
You just end up hanging out, and then pretty sure it's 2 in the morning. And then when I'm at home, I don't even see 2 in the morning. It's funny, and I love being.
exactly.
Some mornings I love being up early, kind of before everyone, having coffee, and the sun's coming up, and I love mornings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For me to stay up late anytime now, like if we go to a show together to go watch whoever, and
Yeah,
we're home at midnight and it's 2 in the morning before I'm settled in,
right,
I swear I wake up in the morning, it feels like I have a hangover. And I haven't
right.
taken a drink. I'm just like, God, I feel like shit. I'm lethargic. I'm tired. I don't know. It's just
I'm
part
a
of getting
weird.
old, man.
I've always required a lot of sleep. I'm not one of those,
Yeah.
sleep 4 hours and I'm good to go. I've always required a lot of sleep. So if I get to bed late and I get up
Right.
early, which I tend to do, my body just kind of pops up.
Yeah. I
Then
have
you're
this
right.
ring.
I'm shot.
Yeah. I've got this smart health ring now to measure my
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't sleep good last night. I got, like, according to the ring, 3 hours of good sleep, and the rest of it
Ah,
was tossing. I was just like, God, but I feel okay today. Yeah.
oh, that's good.
Spontaneity or carefully planning?
Oh, I'm OCD. And it's be carefully planning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a spontaneous guy.
No. If I
No.
were to say, "Hey, after let's go get some sushi," you're like, "Well,
Well,
let
I
me
mean,
look at the
certain things,
calendar." Yeah,
yeah, maybe, but by and
yeah,
large, if we do a vacation or trip or even, I don't know, a night out, there has to be a certain amount of planning. I
right.
have to have my day sort of like what's going on.
I kinda
Yeah,
like
maybe it comes
planning
from being
too.
on tour and looking at the day sheet, knowing where I'm supposed to be and what time, right? I mean, you live
Isn't
off
that
those day
crazy,
sheets.
man?
Yeah, I
That
mean,
that basically your day is planned out for you,
yeah.
you know? I
Maybe
love
that has
day sheets,
something to do
man.
with it. My
Yeah, I
wife, I
used to
can't talk
draw.
her into doing the day sheets for us, but.
Yep. I tell you, man, Mike, that used to drive Mike Mushock up staying up a wall because he just all he wants is a day sheet and then Coors Light for after the show. And
Okay.
the thing, if there
Easy
wasn't a day
enough.
sheet, he's like, "How in the hell am I supposed to know what to do?" I was like, "Well, dude, it's
Right.
like Groundhog Day, other
Yeah.
than going to do press or something like that,
Right. Right.
Books or movies?
Oh, movies. I'm a movie
Same.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I sound really lazy now, but I do a lot of audiobooks now.
Mhm.
I
Same.
love that. And, that kinda goes back to that iPod thing. I love Audible and any books. Like, I was telling you, I did KK Downing's book recently
Mhm. Yep.
and, a book about the band Badfinger, which I really like, but I both of those were all audiobooks, and
Mhm.
I like doing those. Alex Van Halen, I did the audiobook, and anyway, yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I do like the
Okay.
audiobooks, but I'm definitely a movie guy for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Classic cars or motorcycles?
Classic cars. Never
Mm,
been a
okay.
motorcycle guy. Never been a motorcycle
Me
guy.
neither. They scare the shit out of me.
Yeah,
Uh, Sneakers or boots?
sneakers. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know this one. Call or text?
Text. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so easy.
I used to be a call guy. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what we used to do forever, but
yeah, yeah. Are you
yeah,
the kind of guy if you see like me calling or whoever, and you're like, "Oh God," and you're, "I don't know, what do I do?"
oh,
Straight to voice, you know what I mean? Like the panic
no,
mode, like,
no,
or is it
if
just
really
automatic send to voicemail?
no, I don't do that, especially, close friends. If I legitimately miss a call, then there you go, but if I see close friends calling, I'll pick up because,
Yeah,
it's something. Um,
right.
yeah, I won't do the send to voicemail. That's kind of a dick move. I can't do
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So all the times you don't pick up for me, you're not making a dick move.
Right,
I'm
right.
just kidding. You
Yeah, it
usually
is.
really
You
good.
would know, right? It'd be like it's the 4 rings and it goes to voicemail. I don't
Exactly.
I don't do that. I don't do that.
Yeah. Would you rather direct a movie or star in one?
Oh, man. Maybe it goes against my personality, but I think maybe star in one, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have that kind of charisma. Maybe I'm better off behind the camera, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do well here, so I mean, you've always done wonderful in any interview I've ever done with you, so it's great.
I appreciate it.
Be a one-hit wonder or an underground legend?
Oh, God, that's a tough one, Fran.
It is.
Wow. I don't know. I
Like, let's
mean,
just say that, like, Ray Parker Jr., Ghostbusters. That's,
right,
one-hit wonder. He's
right.
made millions of dollars on it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
nobody really understands his other underground stuff, and you can say
True.
the same thing about, like, King's X or underground legends.
Yeah.
They never had that one
Right.
hit wonder
Smash
type
hit.
thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think?
I think one hit then. I'd say
Yeah?
one hit. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
To be able to kind of ride that roller coaster just one time, even if it's one time, I think,
Mhm.
it's
Okay.
pretty cool.
Let's see, write a chart-topping song or direct a hit film? I don't know why this is bringing up movie stuff, but
Yeah, no, be a part of a chart-topping song. Yeah,
right. Which you have. I mean,
I
Seether's
love
got some
I love
huge
being
songs.
recorded music, and I love the idea, that there'll be something here that I've done even after I'm gone. I contributed to music, or maybe I brought somebody happiness in some way, even through my contribution of just playing drums, playing the beat. I mean, I do kind of love that concept, and yeah, I think
Hmm.
being able to be part of a song that's been successful, it's connected with a lot of people. I think that's really cool.
Right. Unlimited budget or total creative freedom?
Unlimited budget, right?
Yeah.
Because I think by default, it would give you complete freedom, right? If you had all the
See, it's a two-way sword for me because I've had limited budgets with both Hired Gun and the Ray Parker Jr. thing, and it
yeah,
was hard to make. There's another, I'm not going to name the artist, I don't want to get in trouble, but there was the best-selling female artist of all time had an opportunity to do her documentary, unlimited budget, but she ruled everything I did under a uh,
okay,
iron fist, and it was
right,
awful to the
yeah,
point where you know that project ended because it wasn't
wow,
worth. It's already hard enough making one of those shows,
yeah,
and then to have and I understand, it was her story.
yeah,
You got to
yeah,
respect that, but at the same time, as a director, you kind of know what you're doing. And the
yeah,
biggest slap in the face was she goes, "Well, you've only done 2 documentaries." I'm like,
ah,
Do you realize how hard that is? Like
yeah.
it's really tough.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's difficult to be objective about your own life, I guess, to have somebody
Yeah.
try to tell your story, and I don't know, people see themselves a certain way, and that all comes
Mhm.
back to, again, not taking yourself too serious,
Yep.
and kind of having kind of a wink about the whole thing, and but yeah, I can see, you have unlimited budget, but you're not able to tell the story the way you want to, because you have this,
Exactly.
this heavy-handed sort of situation that definitely, you're not able to be creative and do what you need to do.
No, it crushed me, man, because it's such a
Yeah.
potent, awesome story, and then you're just
Right.
kind of like, just take a step back,
Right. Take a step
Trust me,
back.
take a step
Exactly.
back. She approached me, by the way, to do
Yeah.
her movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, would you rather play a villain or a hero in a movie?
Ooh, I like villain.
Yeah.
I like villain. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Alice Cooper, man, on stage. He's the
Yeah.
villain, and he talks
Yeah.
about that too. Like, you always see like the rock, the Mick Jaggers, but who's the
Right.
villain? Who's the super villain in rock
Yeah.
and roll?
Love the villain in some ways,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we all get chills when Darth Vader comes on, right? He's like the greatest bad guy
exactly.
there is.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that's
villain.
incredible. Would you rather break records or break boundaries?
Oh man. I don't know. These are good questions, Fran.
Thank you.
My I don't know, break records maybe,
Okay.
kind of, yeah, go places maybe that, I don't know, artists haven't been as well. Again, that's boundaries, I guess. That's a tough one, man. That's
Yeah.
really tough.
No,
Yeah.
it is. Aliens or ghosts?
Ghosts.
Yeah. Do you believe in ghosts?
I do. Yeah.
You do. Have you had an
I
experience before?
I have. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was, a couple situations after my dad passed.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, and another situation when my dad's mom passed before him, my grandmother, both, I really felt their presence, and my dad, a situation, something moved, without anyone. Yes, I believe,
Mm,
I don't know where we go after this, but I think initially, and it was just right after he passed, and then nothing again has ever happened. It was just kinda, it was there initially within a week after his and then never again. So, I don't know
interesting.
what that was, but it definitely, I think I kinda believe in both. I mean, I've not had an alien situation but I'm kinda like, we can't be the only ones in the universe?
I mean,
So, I kinda believe in both, but I personally, the ghost experience, I think to a certain extent, yeah, I've had it.
right? Super strength or invisibility,
Oh, invisibility would be cool.
right?
Or
Go
would it
spy on
be?
everybody. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, be there and be like, "God, the John's a complete ass, man."
Right?
The
Golly.
fly on the
Uh,
wall situation.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want everybody to like me, damn it.
Exactly. Exactly. Pizzas or tacos?
Oh, man, tacos. I'm a Mexican
Yeah.
guy. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Same. Same. Bigfoot or Loch Ness monster?
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
Bigfoot.
Would you rather win the lottery or have a perfect job?
Oh, I wanna win the lottery, man.
Then you could do whatever the hell you want, right?
That's right. I
Yeah.
always say I'd be the guy from Office Space. What if you had $1 billion? What would you do? I
Exactly.
would sit on my ass and do nothing. Well, shit, man,
Right.
you don't need $1 million for that. Just look at my cousin. He's broke. Don't do anything.
Exactly. Dogs or cats?
I'm a dog guy. Yeah, dogs.
Same.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
allergic
love
to
dogs.
cats. I could never have cats.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Really?
yeah. Plus, I don't trust an animal that doesn't come to you when you call it.
Mm. And that will eat you when you die. Like
Yeah,
cats are not good with
exactly.
that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say dog.
Yeah. Comedy or horror?
I'm a comedy guy. I love laughing
Yeah,
and I love good
me too,
comedies.
man.
So I'm a comedy guy.
I was watching The Great Outdoors again the other night. It popped up on
Oh
TBS or
man.
whatever. What a masterpiece, man.
Yes.
When it's telling the story about the bear.
Yes. Yeah, and scares him.
Oh
And
my
I love
God.
it, the bare butt bear, and when he shoots
Yeah,
him with
yeah.
the gun, the lamp. It's just,
Yeah, yeah. And Dan
yes.
Aykroyd goes into his twin daughter's bedroom after the bear story and is like, now listen here, girls. My
Yeah. Yeah.
grandfather used to tell me a story about these, militant, weird alien whatever, and scared the girls even more. It
Freaks
was
them
great.
out completely. It's a
Completely.
great movie. Such a
Uh,
great movie.
Summer or winter?
Oh, I think summer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, as I've gotten older, man, winter, I'm not a fan of the cold.
right.
And
Uh,
yeah, summers, Oklahoma can have some hot ones, but I think summer for sure.
right. Let's see if there's anything. Oh, here you go. If you could have dinner with any 5 people on the planet, who would it be? And I think you saw, I have a picture that I commissioned this artist to do on my wall, and mine were Evil Knievel,
Yeah.
Alice Cooper, Rob Halford, Tom Cruise, and athlete Rod Woodson. Who would your 5 be?
Oh man, that's great. So I don't know. So we'll do like Dave Grohl,
Mhm.
Alex Van Halen. Let's see. That's great. I don't know. We got to do Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, right?
Okay. One more.
And one more, maybe an actor. Who do I? I heard he's not a pleasure to deal with in person, but I'd love to meet Chevy Chase.
Oh man,
Yeah,
hysterical.
yeah. He's
You
so
know, one of
funny.
the
I heard he is not a pleasant person to meet in person.
right. I've heard
Not
the same thing about like James Cameron.
Yeah,
And I was at this vegan restaurant in Marina Del Rey in California, and I sit down, I'll look over, and there's James Cameron. And I didn't have the nerve to get. Plus, I'm not going to interrupt him, you know.
yeah.
But and I'll tell you who else you don't want to approach is George Lucas. I've heard
Michael
nightmare
Walker.
stories about this guy.
Right.
Yeah, and he lived 2 blocks away from me when I lived in San Rafael, California. He lived in
Wow.
San Anselmo, and I would see him at Starbucks every morning.
Yeah.
And he's the most unapproachable person on the
Wow.
planet Earth. He'll go get his coffee, turn around, just tunnel vision. Don't talk to me, don't approach me, don't do anything, you know. So I never did, but I've seen him a million times.
And I always hate it because you think, Star Wars, fans are fanatics, right? And so
Right.
he has dealt with some people
Oh,
that have just ruined it for all of us, right? Like he's completely
just
unapproachable now. He maybe wasn't
yeah.
always that way, but some people just ruined it for us that he's just done.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I met James Cameron. They had a fundraiser um, plate dinner thing you could buy for raising funds for cystic fibrosis here in
Oh, interesting.
Oklahoma a few years. Yeah, he's got a family member, and he was the speaker. And then he'd meet everybody, and they had a silent auction and all that. But I got to meet him.
Mm,
Very nice. That was really cool.
that is
Uh,
cool.
yeah, yeah, very cool.
Wow. Um, I think that's it. I did want to ask you some more of this or that. So, Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses?
Oh, you know me, Motley Crue.
Yep.
Crue.
Judas Priest or Iron Maiden?
Priest.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you. Good,
yeah,
good, good,
it's
good,
Priest.
good
Yeah,
answer. Yeah.
yeah, Priest is more my thing.
Uh, John Bonham or Neil Peart?
Bonham.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
more my style. Neil's amazing, very technical, and Bonham is too. But it would be Bonham for me. Yeah,
Okay. Ozzy or Black Sabbath with Ozzy?
Ozzy solo.
Yeah.
I think I love Sabbath. I love what they've done, but I came to Sabbath via Ozzy. So right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm at that perfect age when Ozzy was solo, and again, Diary of a Madman, and that sent me down the rabbit hole of, oh, he was in a band before. Oh, I didn't know. Heard Iron Man on the radio or whatever. I knew like, oh, I know these
Right.
songs, but I didn't know all of Volume 4. I didn't know Master of Reality. I didn't know those albums. I had to go back and discover that because it was through Ozzy solo.
Right. What about Black Sabbath with Ozzy or Dio?
That's great. Actually, man, this will
Ugh,
be this may be sacrilege. I
dude,
love,
the Mob Rules is
dude, and Heaven and Hell, Neon
yep.
Nights. I mean, it's
Oh
just
God.
I love those two. It was a different band in a really good, Talking about Motley Crue, dude, I love the Corabi album, the John Corabi.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love it. And I saw them. It was so crazy. Dr. Feelgood had been in, at the arena here the few years prior, and then they played a club here in Oklahoma City on that tour. The Nixons played the same club here the next weekend and sold it out. And Motley Crue had played the week before with
Oh
Corabi,
wow.
didn't even sell it out. So, but I love that album, and I love Corabi's voice. I was a fan of the Scream, the band he had before. So when Corabi came into the picture, I knew exactly who he was. And I
Right.
really, maybe they should have called it something else, I guess. I don't know. I don't think that album has gotten a fair shake. They've never re-released it.
Mm.
It's like, talk about vinyl. They only released it on vinyl in Europe, and it's like super collectible now, but I don't see the band will ever re-release it, unfortunately. And it's a great album.
Right. The only other version of Motley Crue I saw was when they had that female drummer that filled in for Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yes. Yeah. Samantha
Yeah.
from Hole.
Yeah.
Here's a
Yeah.
story, Fran, I have to tell, and I'll be honest with you and, just lay it all out there. So
Okay.
there's a valet at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, right, in Los Angeles. And there was a period, if you remember, yes, Samantha was the drummer, the girl you're talking about, but also, do you remember Ozzy's drummer, Randy Castillo?
Yeah. Of
Right.
course.
Yeah, great drummer, but he played on an album and replaced Tommy. And I forget the timeline. I don't know if it was after Samantha or before or whatever. I don't know. But Randy was a drummer there. Loved him with Ozzy. We're standing in line at a valet, and I'm with a buddy, and we're waiting for them to bring our car. And he's like, dude, you're a Tommy fan. You're a huge. So what do you think about this Randy Castillo being, the new drummer for Crue? And I went, dude, he's great with Ozzy, but I'm sorry, man. Tommy Lee's Tommy Lee. He'll always be the
Right.
drummer for Motley Crue. He ain't no Tommy Lee. I'm sorry. I mean, they got to do what they got to do, I guess. But I love Tommy Lee. I turned behind me, and guess who was waiting in line behind me, waiting for a car?
No. Oh no.
Randy Castillo. And he just gave me a deadpan look, and I obviously walked it back, dude. Oh my God. And he's like, yeah, whatever, man. He heard the
That's
whole thing.
hysterical.
So only in LA
Yeah.
can that freaking happen. And
Ever.
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But I mean, he's a great drummer,
Yeah,
God rest
killer.
his soul.
Yeah.
But for Motley Crue, for me, it's it's Tommy. So
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, hey man, thanks for coming on.
yeah,
I'll put links to everything below. And
yeah, awesome. Thank
let's
you.
go get sushi this week.
Let's do it.
Oh, hi, brother.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks.